It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by TheDartZone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Dart Talk carries the Internet Broadcast Rating TVD, a broadcast that is specifically designed to be viewed or heard by the darting community, and therefore may be incomprehensible to other lesser mammals. Darter discretion advised.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Hanging in there.
It's March, I know that much.
March 6th, for those of you paying attention.
2013 episode, I don't know, 10 or 11,
something like that
for the year. Welcome to Dart Talk. Steve Poncelman and Mystery Mark, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Can't wait. Can't wait to use my Redwood.
Yes. Have you got the knurling and everything fixed or what?
It's in the process of undergoing final
reconstruction.
Modifications.
Yeah.
No. Final modifications on the pre-approved prototype that I've been testing out. But I lost an entire week. I thought I had to go to Indianapolis this weekend.
Okay.
And I don't.
And you don't?
No.
You don't have anything to do?
No.
Okay.
And I'm like, what do you do when there's no dart tournament? I mean, what are you supposed to do with yourself? I mean,
come over and help me unpack.
It was funny. You gave me a thought, because we were talking about how I have no life outside of darts.
Yeah.
Right? And
which you admit that too, though.
Well, I tried to get something going. So unfortunately, I tuned into a college basketball game. Michigan State and Michigan.
Okay. I actually missed that one.
Well, interstate rivalry, right? And they're both top 10 teams, right? So I'm thinking this will be a good game. Watched 3 seconds of it, and like my retinas almost fell out of my eyes. Michigan.
What was wrong with it?
Michigan is wearing yellow from head to toe.
Nice. I actually didn't see it, so yeah.
Well, isn't the school's motto like "Go Blue" or "Big Blue" or something? Yellow, head to toe yellow. I'm like, how on earth can you win wearing yellow?
Actually, it's maize, isn't it? Aren't they the maize and blue?
I would typify the color yellow, but we have a clean tag with iTunes, and I want to keep it. And I couldn't watch anymore. I'm like, I'm not going to watch guys parading around in yellow underwear up and down the floor for 48 minutes. I mean, you got to draw the line somewhere.
So then you went back to your life of only darts.
Well, we're taking the long way around the barn, because shortly after that, I got a chance to watch the Blackhawks play. Which
actually that would be your life out of darts. That's your true love.
Well, I do. I really like the Hawks, although there's like this gap where I was in a coma for 16 years, and the team didn't exist, and all of a sudden they came back, and it was like really cool.
This was the Red Wing game, right?
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was compelling, and we're not a hockey show, but I mean, people are complaining about this shootout rule. They're complaining about ties, and regular season you can't have guys playing 6 overtimes for 2 measly points.
Yeah,
or 1 measly
for 1 point, because you get 1 for going to
get 1 for a tie, right? So what would be these guys are professional athletes. They're already killing them. They're playing that was their 3rd game in 3 days or something.
3rd game 4 days.
Well, they played back to it wasn't 24 hours since or it wasn't so. But, I'm watching
these are the same people that were complaining that there used to be no overtime. Then after overtime, they're complaining that there's still a tie. So then they do a shootout. Now they're still complaining. What can you do?
I enjoy watching Patrick Kane on these shootouts where
He's different than everybody else.
He is so creative, and he's so imaginative, and he doesn't always score, but the way he put it by this guy,
it was great.
Was like floor hockey in 8th grade, where you got the chubby kid who can't move,
right?
And you just kind of walk in on him and kind of like fake him, and then just blast one at him. I just thought it was sick.
I tuned in at the perfect time. I tuned in with 2 minutes left in the game.
It got me to thinking, though, because, hockey in Chicago was absolutely, totally dead.
Well,
see, I'm getting to darts now.
To an extent.
No, it was dead. I mean, they
still sold out all the time.
No, not even. No, they didn't sell out. Once they got rid of Jeremy Rennick and
Roenick
and Chelios, where they were like throwing bricks through Chelios' restaurant window,
and
all that, that was it. They were done. And the team dropped off the map. They couldn't make the playoffs, and nobody there was no interest in the team anymore. No free agent would even dream of coming to Chicago. Which
is this how you pertain it to darts? Because darts is dead in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Because one of the things
I'm trying to get you there quicker.
Yeah, good luck. Because what can we learn from American hockey? If you look at where the Hawks are now versus where they were, pick a year. 10 years ago?
15 years ago.
15 years ago, where nobody cared. The hardcore hockey fans were still going out, but, I mean, they weren't getting coverage. They weren't on TV, right? The home games were on pay cable, but that was it.
Correct.
Or were they even on pay cable? Actually, the home games weren't even on TV. They were only road games.
Right, because they won't show it if it's not sold out.
Right. So here you had, like, basically something almost in a closet. Chicago hockey. No national interest at all because the team wasn't winning. The local interest was down to the very hardcore hockey fans.
That was all that was left.
And it got me to thinking. Oh, and the other thing is, like, the Hawks have by far the best jersey in all of sports.
Yes, best sweater, actually. Right. It's a sweater.
Well, it's polyester. I mean, it's not wool anymore like it used to be. But, I mean, because I remember thinking those Michigan uniforms were so horrible. Sorry, Bill. The yellow ones.
The yellow ones, not the maize and blue ones.
No, the blue ones look fine, but the all yellow is just like, I don't know how you could lace up your shoes because they're also yellow and put on knee socks that are also yellow and put on like a yellow head. I'm just like,
Are you excited to go out and play basketball?
How do you even leave the locker room without like putting a towel over your head and hoping people don't recognize you? Hey, let's switch. Get some bench guys jerseys.
They're not the only one doing it. They got 11 other players.
Well, look, I
mean,
the
same way.
Everybody needs to make money, and I get that you need now 11 jerseys, right? So all the fans can buy all 11,
right?
So they
can buy
have
something
to do
new
their laundry as often, right?
Every 5 weeks.
But I started thinking because the other thing was they gave Yari Curry some ceremony for his 1,000th game. 20 dwarves took
Yari Curry.
Not Yari Curry. Marian Hossa.
Marian Hossa.
He reminds me of Yari Curry.
Yeah, that's a name from the
past.
We're
going to have to go to a commercial early. No, I was like, because I promised we would do the feedlot, which I have stayed away from deliberately for weeks and weeks and weeks. The feedlot is where you look at everybody's like Facebook feeds and see what they're talking about. And I just was like, oh, wow, really? Is this what you're talking about? But we do have some stuff that we can get to on that. But
okay, you're getting off topic here a little bit.
The marketing, if you attribute the popularity of the Blackhawks to more than the fact that they're now good,
right?
They put the guy who used to do the Cubs marketing in charge of the Blackhawks marketing.
Is that McDonough?
Yeah, John McDonough, who I always thought was, just some office guy, right? But they had this ceremony for Hossa. They gave him like a silver stick. Right. Got the fans all geeked up. He scored a goal. It was feel good city, on Madison Avenue the other night. Was it last night?
Last night.
Back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm like, you look at what's going on in Chicago now, which is like absolutely ridiculously bad, and it's like, well, how do you turn this around, right? And
put a good product out.
And if you could turn it around here, you could turn it out anywhere. Right? Like what they do in New York, right, is they have their own little New York pro tour, basically. And not all the guys that play are pros, and not all the guys that play are, like, capable of beating Phil Taylor, but that isn't really the issue. The issue is, getting people out there, getting people playing.
Yeah, increasing the interest.
not only increasing the interest, but I swear to God, if you walked into any tavern or any nightclub or whatever, and you saw 15 people in a semicircle watching a dart match, I guarantee you at least 10 more people would go just see what's going on. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
If you had somebody there explaining it to them, right, where they could appreciate what was going on, you would develop interest. And from developing interest is how you get things to grow. Right? There's the best news I've heard all year came out today.
Which was?
Fox Sports is going to start in August a 24-hour-a-day sports channel.
Are they really?
ESPN will now have competition.
Yeah.
They're lining up, live events. And, Fox, who owns Fox? Is it Comcast? They've already got.
No,
they've
Comcast and NBC Sports are together. I don't.
All right, so then we have 3.
Yeah.
All right, well, Fox, if it's the same people that own Sky, have access to darts. But now you have 24 more hours. What's 24 times 7? 140. Somebody in the chat room, what's 24 times 7? Anyway, here's all these hours of programming they're going to have
98.
to fill with.
No. I mean, 128.
Ask the chat room. They'll know.
It's 128.
Anyway, however many hours they have to fill
138.
is like, we have a product. We haven't been able to put it together to a point where we can show it to them and say, hey, look at this. And we haven't put it together in such a way that we can take it to sponsors and say, check this out, get behind this. This is going to be the next big thing. Mm-hmm. The other good news I had was somebody, I don't know if it was the New York Times or I don't know, whatever I was reading, about the decline in popularity in poker, where they're closing poker rooms here. They're closing poker rooms at places in Las Vegas. They actually closed it at the Tuscany, where they're having the NWDS in April. They closed the poker room, put in slot machines, because people are tired of it.
It was a fad.
If you go and play it, it's nothing like what they show you on TV.
Nothing. Not at all.
Absolutely nothing like it. But we can do it. We can put darts on, and we could put on events that are just like what works in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Instead of cricket, which is, you play pool, I compare cricket to straight pool and 501 to 9-ball.
Yeah.
And if you saw Color of Money, TV likes 9-ball. There's lots of breaks. The games are quick.
Right.
Da-di-da-di-da. 501 is the perfect game for television. So, we're really kind of halfway there. Right? You got the North American Pro Tour and the NWDS events that are all long format 5-0. I mean, I seriously doubt the ADO would ever, kind of figure it out and start putting on long format 501 championships where the final is going to take an hour and a half because they don't think like that. But it's very easy. You got all the good players in there. Put them in front of a board. You got guys that know how to work a camera.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we have all the pieces. It's getting them all together and then having somebody with enough savvy and business experience to be able to deal with executives and advertising people and marketing people to the extent where you can effectively deliver the message that this will work. And we're there. And now there's a new channel to approach.
Right.
Who's already...
Which is nice.
Well, yeah, Fox has to know what's going on in Europe. I mean, ESPN knows, and they don't care. Because I think ESPN has had no competition for so long that they're not ever interested in improving their product. They want people to watch whatever they put on, and they'll put on a spelling bee and exploit 7-year-olds.
Right.
Right? They don't care. Hey, why not? Mm-hmm. But they don't do anything for sport. If anything, they probably affected it in a negative way. They have so much influence because they're paying this big money for football and baseball and basketball and all this stuff that...
Well, yes and no, but then, I mean, X Games has gone crazy and stuff like that. I mean, they put that together and now people are making money on it. So they've influenced that somehow.
I don't know. There's only a couple of X Games things that I think are really watchable.
Yeah, but they're in the Olympics now. Well, you and me both. I don't watch it at all. But
let me tell you, the Olympics is going to make themselves completely and utterly irrelevant. Darts at the Olympics is like, I don't even care anymore. They want to take out wrestling.
I know. Or they already did.
Well, they said they would do it in like 2 Olympics, but now you have time to like, cry about it and, try to persuade the powers.
Fix it.
But honestly, if these are the people that are running the Olympics where they don't have any respect for what sport is,
right,
and it's a bunch of fuddy-duddy old guys.
Wasn't it the first sport of the Olympics?
I would
think.
The
original, and they're taking it out.
Wrestling,
doesn't make any sense.
Wrestling is the absolutely physically most demanding sport on the planet. You use every single muscle in your body. You use calves, you use thighs, arms, shoulders. I don't know. The ears get beat up. I guess you don't have any muscles in your ears. That's all cartilage or anything. But I mean, wrestling is the most demanding sport you can ever do. And if you remember, like, you had to do it in high school gym class or something, after 2 minutes of wrestling with some guy, you're like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Right? There's no sport that's even remotely close to it. Right? Top 10 basketball is probably, because you got to do a lot of running. I mean, soccer's all lungs and legs. Football's a gladiator sport. You play for 15 seconds, and then you wait around for a minute, and then there's a timeout for TV and all that stuff. Hockey's on skates, so there's less resistance. That's why these guys can play for 20 years. It's not as hard on your body.
Right.
But wrestling, are you kidding me?
No, I agree with you.
So this is the homework assignment for the audience because I want to pull it back to hockey because it's made such a turnaround in Chicago. So what are the components that turned it around, right? First, you have to have some talented people.
Yes.
Right? And
they
don't have to be and they don't have to be angels, right? I mean, Jonathan Toews is basically an angel. He's a straight-laced kid. He's only like 21 or 22. I mean, he's he
might be a little older than that now.
Barely shaving. A couple of these guys are party maniacs. I mean, ask any bartender who's out after the game, and they'll run them down to you, just like the Bulls were. Nobody held that against them. Right? I'm pretty sure it's not like Slapshot where these guys are drunk before the game.
No.
I mean, that's something that, I don't know what to make of that. But the marketing that they've done and the way they've presented the game to the people, nobody in darts does that. The people that are promoting things in darts right now are having a hard enough time convincing players
to show up
to get behind these efforts. I mean, until the players can start speaking a little bit more in one voice, right? And
right, but you're also saying that a lot of these people that are so-called promoting the sport with their tournaments aren't even doing it right.
Well, I don't know.
So you still have to go back to don't you have to go back to getting a structure? You need a structure of what each tournament should be held accountable for, and
I mean, there's a template for a successul tournament there, that we've talked about ad nauseum on this show.
Right.
I mean, everybody knows what I think.
But you have to get to that too in order to get to.
But a lot of the tournaments that we talk about and we give results for are just local tournaments run by local leagues that aren't really concerned with an overall picture, right? They're just doing their tournament.
Yeah.
Which, okay, we'll take our first commercial, and then I have to rip on Texas.
Okay.
Which...
I can't wait.
Well, it's not on purpose. Anyway, we'll be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. Okay, back for the second quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts.
All right, so let's get to it. Why? Now, you didn't go to Texas, right?
No.
Okay.
No,
so
but, word travels
you've got some
fast
information, apparently?
Word travels fast in this day and age, and apparently what they did in Texas was...
What kind of tournament was it?
It was like
just a local?
10,
or was
no, well, it was a little bit of a bigger, like I think it might have been 15,000 total purse. They were running best of 3 singles events, and they went flip and go, and that's it. If you won the coin flip, you got to go first in the first and third legs.
Oh, really? Just by winning a coin flip?
They eliminated the diddle completely. And I'm just like, no, they didn't. They couldn't have. Nobody.
I take it this got a bad response.
Well, I don't know if it was Sharon. Somebody posted something. Say the pros and cons of that, and I'm like, well, I can't really think of any pros, but because it's silly. It's absolutely about as bad an idea as I can imagine, where you're taking the skill out of who gets the advantage in the last leg. I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
Goes to pure luck.
Well, look, I mean, this is where, you're talking about a template for success, and you're talking about local tournaments not having the big picture. If it was up to me, you wouldn't be able to count any results from that tournament in any sort of rankings or money list, because basically they have violated one of the first rules of competition. Right? So
I agree.
How should those points count against one where you had to actually earn it, right? Now, I can think of a couple of pros.
Had they given this information out, or the players didn't know it until all of a sudden they showed up, and then here are your local rules?
To my knowledge, it was, here's what we're going to do. It
was a secret until...
And I can't imagine that there wasn't a riot and like 15 or 20 people going up telling these people that they didn't know what they were doing.
Exactly.
And la-di-da-di-da-di-da, which probably would have gotten ugly. I mean, I don't know that too many people traveled to this tournament. The thing with the 10,000s and the 15s are a little different, but $10,000 tournaments and under generally don't pay enough for anybody to travel a great distance to, because you have almost no chance of making your expenses back, right? I mean, you got to pretty much sweep the singles or sweep the doubles or something just to break even. And, I don't know how much the tournaments are making, but if you're given a tournament where players have no chance of breaking even, I don't think you're going to get too many people showing up. Like for a local, yeah, sure. If all you got to do is drive there and you're not even renting a hotel room, well, then yeah, sure, absolutely, no problem.
Then it's definitely worth it, right?
But for traveling people, no way. So I found this to be somewhat disturbing. As far as what are you trying to do when you're running an event? Now the one pro here, and we mentioned it a couple of shows ago, is that if you eliminate the diddle every leg, you're giving, less experienced tournament players more of a chance to beat one of the, circuit players, right? The idea there is that, well, an experienced circuit player who knows how to diddle and isn't having a bad day will basically go first maybe 75, 80% of their legs. Well, of course, they're going to win most of those legs, right? So it stands to reason they're going to end up doing well. For a local player who doesn't really diddle, and they play league, and there's one diddle and it's mugs away, or what have you, or however whatever their league happens to do,
right? Which is generally that case, right?
They're not used to diddling every leg because nobody does that, right? I can't imagine a league that would do that.
I can't either.
Right? So it gives the people that play regular tournaments a huge advantage over people who don't, because they're used to diddling every leg, and all the little things that go with diddling and everything, and the little with the ADO diddle rule especially, a lot of people don't even know it. I mean, how many ADO tournaments do most people play a year? I guarantee you the vast majority of American darters play no more than 2 ADO tournaments a year, maybe 3, depending on where they live, right? Like you played probably one a year when we had the Windy City Open in Chicago.
That was it.
Right? That was it. Some Chicago players, when they had a tournament in Cedar Rapids.
Yes, right.
Or they had tournament
in Indianapolis. But that's about as far as they go.
Yeah, a couple-hour drive,
Right.
So some of the more I don't know how to quite characterize it. Maybe they would play 3. At the most 3 or 4 a year. You got go through the ADO standings. I mean, there are people flying around on buddy passes that play 25 tournaments a year.
Yeah,
right. I mean, that's a huge advantage. So the idea
just a little.
The idea of flip and go and alternate start does give less experienced players a better chance.
It evens the playing field a little bit.
And
is that why they do it?
You'd have to.
Or do they think they're saving time?
I don't know. If they're doing it to save time, then I have an issue with that because people come to play darts. They don't come to play darts in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let's get this over with.
I mean, for one, you want to save time. Stop playing so much cricket. I mean, I've played cricket games where literally I got irritated with somebody and I decided I was just going to point him until he closed the 20s and 1,700 points later I'm like maybe I should have just ended this game. This is going on way too long, right?
Right.
But you have no way of there's no even skilled players can take a long time playing cricket.
Yes.
Where skilled players in 01,
it's over.
Zippity-doo-dah, right? It's over.
Yeah, you're talking anywhere from 9 to 18 darts in 501, whereas you're talking anywhere from 18 to 50 in cricket.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a big difference there.
Well, yeah. And as soon as the cricket, runs long, now your next event is behind and it snowballs from there. So, cricket's really the culprit there. But the idea somehow that you're going to have an event based on a coin flip is absolutely
ludicrous.
I mean, I guess you could say they do it in football. Like in overtime, you flip a coin to see who gets the ball first.
Yes.
Right? However, they did just change the rule where
they
if you
realized
lose the coin flip, you can't just win with a field goal.
Yeah.
Now you got to do something a little more, important. And there are guys that will argue, well, if you lose a coin flip and you stop them, you get the ball in good field position. So, maybe it's not that big a deal. The trick is, you got to stop them.
Yeah.
But the idea somehow that you're going to not diddle at all, and you're just going to flip a coin. Somebody needs to have a talk with somebody and explain to them
why that's a bad idea.
Why skill matters.
Yes. Right.
Right. If you want to run a tournament where you want to punish the people that put the most time into the game to reward the people who don't, then you're not running a competition anymore. You're not trying to identify the player of the day. You're not trying to reward the people who practice. You're doing the exact opposite. And now you've turned it from a competition. What if
they argue they're trying to reward the people that showed up?
There's other ways to reward them as far as like trying to rig the tournament to give them, a much better chance where they don't even have to earn it now.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're not going to look at it from that aspect. They're going to look at it, we're evening the playing field and everybody's got a chance.
I seriously, I can't.
I mean,
see
I agree with you. I'm just saying that it could be their argument.
I mean, me personally, alternate start, even in best of 3, I don't mind that. I don't see that as being a problem. But if you're not going to diddle in the third leg, then I have an issue with that. You telling me you don't have time?
Because then, you know from the get-go after you lose the diddle that, you have to steal his throw once, regardless.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not
only do you have to hold, but you must break.
Right.
So, there's a totally different
mindset.
It's a different mindset. Yeah. And it's still a matter of throwing the dart in your hand.
Sure.
And trying to hit what you're aiming at. That's what really your focus should be. But if I lose the coin flip and now you go first and we throw the exact same darts and you win, what did you just do?
Mm-hmm.
You won a coin flip. And you're going to advance, and I'm not. What sport does that?
Well, none.
Well, that's
the point.
That's why that's why tiebreakers you win by 2.
Yes.
Right. Even in tennis or something. Because in
volleyball,
tennis,
whatever.
They just flip the racket to see who's going to serve first, or you get the option. But come to the 5th set now. Well, no, wait a minute. You make it even, and you make somebody win. You have to be outplayed to lose.
Right.
Right? If you're going to lose and not be outplayed, well then,
what's the point?
Yeah. What are you actually running there?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just send everybody off to the casino or and run a lottery or something, or have a raffle?
Yeah. Hey, you won.
This idea somehow that you're going to do everything with blind draws, right? What is that?
Who came up with that?
Well, I'm not going to get into that.
Okay.
the idea somehow, the template for success.
They're going to run a tournament with all blind draws?
Yeah. Like quadruple elimination. It's some absolutely ridiculous kind of thing.
All right.
And like the finals on a Tuesday or something. I mean, there are some people that I think seriously have lost their minds with some of the things that they're coming up with. But it's good that people try different things.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean
I'm
not going to rip them for it. But
doesn't mean everything works. But
well, then at least if you did it once, then you know what works. Like these people that are coming up to me saying, "Oh, well, seeding is this, and people won't come out if a tournament is seeded." I laugh and I'm like, "Show me the tournament where they seeded people, and people said I'm not going."
Right?
No, you're seeding it. No. I'm out.
Well, do you
seeding's no fair?
Saying that though, Texas tried it. Do you think they'll do it again, or do you think the backlash was just outrageous?
I don't know. I've only played in Texas once. I think it's different there. Like, we can never get results out of Texas. It's like a black hole. Although I did find something. I got a new phone, right?
Yes, you did.
This studio is in the middle of, like, the cellular equivalent of the Bermuda Triangle. Because, literally, I can't get a signal at the stoplight on Elston. I don't know if they can't get a tower. Well, because, you got freeways kind of, like, zigging and zagging, and maybe there's no cell tower, like, kind of like right around here or something, but I can't believe how bad my cell phone reception is. And literally, if I drive a block, all of a sudden it pops on. I mean,
who's your provider?
Well,
really, it shouldn't matter, but
I don't want to say because it's not just me. Other people have the problem.
Yeah.
So, like, my brother's got the same problem. He's got different.
Got a different provider, right?
So I'm thinking it's
to the area,
Bermuda Triangle. Yeah. So anyway,
we're gonna have to move the show so you get better cell reception.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just I won't answer it anymore.
Right.
Like last week, somebody's calling thinking the show's over. I'm like, by the way, our apologies. We have no idea what happened last week with the people that couldn't watch the show live. But apparently it's okay today. If it isn't, somebody needs to say something in the chat room there. But it was a Ustream problem. It wasn't us. So
yeah, I mean, I even talked to a couple people later, during the week, that had the same problem.
Right. And speaking of not taking any responsibility for anything.
Good point.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect the thoughts or opinions of the hosts, our sponsors, any official Dart sanctioning organization, and Post Hoc Ergo Propter Hoc, any and all spelunkers, debunkers, raconteurs, roustabouts, technocrats, hepcats, cat ladies, Lady Gaga, the Four Seasons, the Three Stooges, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, hipsters, kibitzers, hellions, the fickle finger of fate, or Tom Waits.
Okay, so let's disclaim
we're absolved.
All that. We're on the half already?
Yes.
Blah. Okay. This will be a quick break and about 2 minutes long. We'll be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve.
Hey everybody, Colin Cosell here for the New World Darts Series. Now, if you were with us in Dayton, then you already know what an amazing experience we had. Incredible matches, stiff competition, and some of the best darts in North America. However, if you weren't there, then you have every right to be jealous. But don't worry, the New World Darts Series is coming back, April 5th through 7th at the Tuscany Suites and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. This means you've got some time to sharpen your skills and prepare to face off against some of the best shots in North America. And with over $31,000 to be won, not to mention a brand new car, not to mention the fact that it's frickin' Vegas, don't waste any time. Space is limited, so register and make your travel plans right now. I'll be back with updates as the event draws near, but until then, I look forward to seeing you at the New World Darts Series' second major event at the Tuscany Suites and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, April 5th through 7th. Get there.
Okay, back for the second half, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Redwood Darts, Windy City Fabricators.
Absolutely.
Where did we leave off?
You had one final thought.
Yeah, let's just
to this.
We kind of need to move on, but the idea, I guess, what I'm getting at here is that it's not just Texas, but I'm noticing a trend now where people are diminishing the importance of their own events. Now, if you're going to,
for what reason?
Well,
or they don't realize they're doing it.
I'm not going to go. Let's not do conspiracy theory 101. But in Houston, I'm not sure if they're trying to give the local players more of a chance of winning. I'm not sure if it's just an oversight. We'll call it an oversight. Yeah. I'm not sure if they misunderstood what we've been saying on the show about how we diddle too much.
Well, that could be it. Yeah,
they can't be sending a message to me.
They took it to extremes.
Maybe they misunderstood kind of what I'm saying. But anything you do that removes the competitive importance of your own events and your own tournament diminishes the importance of your tournament. Mm-hmm. If you're going to run a tournament, because and we're having this discussion where I want to run the ADO regional final to get to the Winmau Masters, which I think is well worth playing, on a certain week, and oh, well, there's a soft tip tournament. Oh, well, you can't do it this week, and you can't do it that week. And then one guy's like, well, why don't you do it the same weekend as Virginia Beach? And I'm like, well, because all the tournament players are going to be in Virginia Beach. So I can understand why somebody would be like, well, let's run the tournament when all the good shots are out of town, right? Because then I have more of a chance of winning. That's a selfish human response that makes sense to me.
And all that's going to do is prove that you could go out there and then get your butt kicked in the Winmau Masters when you're facing the competition that didn't show up.
Well, yeah. I mean, there needs to be, and this is, we could talk about this offline because I have a plan now for Chicago. I have a plan based on the Hawks on how we can turn darts in Chicago around and make it more like New York, which is like doing awesome. Unfortunately, we don't have an Anthony Eugenia here.
Right.
And the people that we do have that have functioned like him haven't had the vision he's had, weren't able to communicate with the players as well, weren't of the same mindset that I want to keep players happy. I want the players to come and want to play. If you're making decisions on a tournament based on trying to get people to come to play, you already have one foot in the grave.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to tell the guy in Chicago. I mean, eventually Chicago had to cancel their tournament because locals weren't coming out. And I'm like, you have to regrow your tournament population. And you can't do it running the league the way you do it because your league is basically designed for people not to improve to the point where you don't play anybody who's in a different ranking than you. So if all the beginners always just play beginners, what are they going to be? Advanced beginners.
Yeah, and then you're only going to get you're only going to get a select few of that whole population that actually wants to improve and therefore play at the next level and then the next level, but the mass majority isn't going to want to do that.
No, so you have to come up with some way where you play with people of other ability, but you still have a reasonable chance of success, right? You can't figure out some way where somebody who cannot get a dart in the board has a handicap enough where she can stand toe-to-toe with Phil Taylor. I mean, at some point you have to realize, whatever the handicap is, somebody needs to be able to play to win a game.
Right.
Otherwise, don't be in a league. Just play for fun.
Yeah.
Don't wear a uniform. Don't show up on time. Just call your friend and say, hey, you want to go hang out and throw darts? Yeah, okay. Just do that.
And just do that, right.
What's wrong with that? It's fun. Everybody likes throwing darts. I mean, I've never heard anybody say, this is a drag. I don't like this.
Right.
And people get frustrated when they can't hit what they're aiming at. But that's part of the
They enjoy the act.
Yeah, but the sheer act of it is fun. It's like, when you were a kid, you couldn't throw a baseball inside the house, right? You were going to break something. But somehow darts is the only thing you can safely throw in the house. I mean, assuming, the board's high enough where the cat can't grab the dart or whatever. But whatever. That wasn't the point. Way off point here. What I'm trying to say is that all these people that are trying to get tournaments going, and I've noticed a couple of these things now, if you're going to have a tournament on the same weekend where you know that a lot of good players aren't going to be able to come, you've just cut your own throat, right? And whoever wins that tournament, it doesn't count. Remember how it used to be in the PGA, if Tiger Woods wasn't there, then the tournament really didn't count.
Right.
It got lower ratings. Nobody really cared. And, of course, he would show up at all the majors anyway.
Yeah.
Right? So the kind of in-between tournaments that were like, well, if we could get Tiger, we'll get more people, we'll have more money, la-di-da-di-da.
Right. That's why Dubai would pay him millions of dollars to go over there and play.
Exactly.
And miss a PGA event.
Right. Well, he's a businessman. He's a free agent. I mean, you can't blame him for that. But we don't have a Tiger Woods in American darts. We have a lot of players that are adept at throwing darts, but none of them have like any of the charisma, much less the talent gap. That,
True.
like, you know, Tiger Woods is so much better. Was so much better than any other player. It was like, why would you want to watch that guy when you could watch that guy? It was like the Segovia story, right? Segovia used to charge money, like $5,000 an hour, for people to watch him practice. And classical guitar players would pony it up because they'd learn more watching that guy practice than they could doing anything else.
Right.
Right?
I've never heard that story before, by the way.
Oh, really? Well, Segovia's a, classical guitar player. But we don't have anybody like that in America. And if you ask the Canadians, they don't have anyone like that either. I mean, John Part by far has been the most successful Canadian, especially internationally. But for a long time, I'm not sure he got the respect from the Canadians that he got from people overseas. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing. The players have their own way of looking at things, you know. And right now, we don't have fans to counteract that. So, I mean, the players, it's part of the problem. They can't all speak in one voice. But if we're going to start running tournaments like, oh, well, let's do it the same weekend as Virginia Beach, where the top 64 players are gone, then what do you...
Well, you're doing the same thing as not diddling. You're just...
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
but in a much larger scale.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, there are going to be scheduling conflicts. But at some point, the only way to really, solve this would be to have one sanctioning organization that says there's only one sanctioned tournament on any given weekend. If you want your tournament sanctioned, here's what you have to do. And if you run a tournament the same weekend as a sanctioned tournament, not only is your tournament not going to be sanctioned, but you're going to have a hard time getting sanctioned the next year. Right?
Sure.
And then a lot of these tournaments are going to say, so what, and have them anyway. Because I honestly don't think sanctioning is even – I think it's more of a habit now than it is something that, people find necessary. Right?
Okay.
I mean, for the vast majority, whoever was in Houston playing, I don't know how many players they had. Maybe they had 150. I guarantee only 5 of them even knew that they won 80 points if they got in the money in the singles.
Right.
And of those people, probably only 5% really cared.
Yeah. Only 2 people cared.
Right. What do you care if you got 80 points in an event or 2 events, and now you're going to be 275th on the 80 list if the 80 list is ever updated on time, and you can find your name if
so why? Who cares if you're on that list anyway when it's not even updated?
Exactly. So if nobody cares, then why are you bothering sanctioning your tournaments? You see what I'm saying? However, now that we have like a national championship thing in place with like the NWDS and the North American Championship Tour, now it's going to matter. Now tournaments should be lining up to get on that list and try to be included in that, because now you're a major. Now your tournament is actually going to count. Why would a tournament in Savannah give an organization $800 to sanction their tournament?
I don't know.
What do they get out of it?
Right.
I don't think they get anything. So, I don't know. We'll see. I think things are changing, when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I want to stress is that if you're going to do things to diminish the importance of your own event, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
You're going to pay for it
just
not only with bad press, but you're going to when push comes to shove, would somebody want to play a tournament that counts or one that doesn't?
Yeah. Yeah, and then next year, if there's a conflict, all of a sudden people are going to be like, well, if I'm going to go all the way to Texas and we're going to not diddle, then I'm going to this one.
Right. So pretty soon they're going to be having it in somebody's garage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so have a raffle. Do something like that. We do have some results. There were a bunch of little tournaments last week, and I'm not going to really go into those. But the New World Dart Series hometown events, there was one in Cosmopolitan, New York, won by Carmen Eportella, and Lubbock, Texas, Cody Darrington won there. And then this weekend, if you want to go to Columbus this weekend, there's an NWDS qualifier on Saturday.
Look at that.
Slidell, Louisiana, which ought to have some good shots there, some good players down there. Columbus, Ohio, and then Sunday in Hamilton, Ontario. I ain't going there. I don't even know where that is.
Hamilton, Ontario?
It sounds like the name of a goalie.
It might be.
We should go to Columbus this weekend. We should crash that thing.
Does Hamilton have a football team?
No, they got Canadian football. It's like the Cats or something.
Yeah,
Hamilton.
I think Thundercats or something. I don't know what it is. I think they
probably not Thunder, Snowcats
or something. Yeah,
Ice Cats. No, yeah, they have that. Anyway, you guys are running out of time if you want to get in the New World Dart Series.
Tiger Cats.
NewWorldDartSeries.com. Go there. You can sign up for hometown events and the big event in Vegas. What, Tiger
Cats?
Are there tiger dogs?
Well, I know, but a tiger is a cat. So why would you have to say it twice?
I don't know. I didn't name
there's
the team.
tiger fish, aren't there?
Don't look. I'm still mad about the Canadian bacon. Once I found out the way the British made it, I'm down on Canada.
Let's not
this
get you
week.
going on that.
I love bacon.
All right, where were you?
Oh, registration and details. Yeah, on the New World Dart Series. That's www.newworlddartseries.com, and they also have a Facebook page you can go like. Keep in mind, a week from Friday, midnight Eastern is the deadline for registration, so you guys need to, PayPal and get your money in. If you have any questions, you can send email to info@newworlddartseries.com.
There you go.
Guys should be there. It's going to be a great tournament. I'm trying to get this guy from, he was from here. Now he's living in California. I'm like, oh, come out to Vegas, man. Even if you don't qualify, just come out and watch.
Yeah.
It's like great day of darts.
Did he play a lot when he lived here?
Well, not as often as he did once he got married.
Oh.
But, we've been through that. Also, we're going to
He started playing more after he got married?
Less.
Oh. Okay. You made it sound like he started playing more. Not as much as he did after he got married.
I am not at my level best today.
Okay.
I'll be the first to admit that. We're going to take one more break, but before we do that, we have one more homework assignment, and I put this out on Twitter. I want to start doing something a little different on the show. So what I ask people on Twitter is, who should we profile next on the show? An amateur, a pro, a male, a female? Who would our listeners like to hear from? I mean, we've had like everybody in the top 30 or 40 on the show at one time or another. But I don't want to forget anybody. So, I mean, I try, but I can't be everywhere at once. So if anybody's
want some requests.
If anybody's got any suggestions on who we should profile, send an email to darttalk@gmail.com, and we will give it due consideration in all seriousness. And also, we're on TuneIn.com. We're on Stitcher.com, and apparently they do have past shows on Stitcher.com. Somebody said they only had the current show, but I clicked on one thing, and they had them all up there. So Stitcher.com has us. iTunes has all the old shows, and our video archive is up on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and type in Dart Talk US, one word, we have our own channel, and all the videos are up there.
Yeah.
So let's take our last break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. I love that. Back for the fourth quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. First nightclub I ever went to.
Which was?
Oh, well, now it's a hair salon. It was called The Quiet Night, and I saw Corky Siegel.
Oh, okay.
Great show. Fantastic show. 2-drink
Now
minimum.
it's a hair salon.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's by the L tracks on Belmont. Now, and it was a 2-drink minimum, and me and my buddy looked at each other. We were like 17, and we're like, okay, we'll have one. If you're going to make us. Right?
Yeah.
Nice. It was real nice.
All right.
So what are we doing? Premier League?
Premier League. We haven't discussed how our picks went last week.
Our picks went very well. Last week, we picked 4 winners and a tie. Taylor ended up tying.
Taylor tied.
We had all the other winners, yeah. Last week, let's see, Robert Thornton thrashed Gary Anderson. I mean, he beat him like a drum.
Yeah.
And Anderson...
Did he just play better, or did Anderson not play well?
I think
mixture
Anderson
of both.
looked shell-shocked. I mean, Thornton just played awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He averaged almost 110. I think it was the highest weekly Premier League average they've ever seen.
Wow.
And the only reason Anderson took 2 legs was he got to go first, and like had one dart at a double for like 100+ out and managed to hit it. Other than that, he was. And on one of those, I think Thornton missed a couple of doubles. I mean, the guy played absolutely impeccable, which is what I had said on the show. I'm like, the guy's playing the best darts of his life, and the other guy's, what's he done?
Yeah.
So it seemed like kind of a no-brainer to me. Adrian Lewis threw up all over himself. He ended up losing. Yeah. I don't think he's into it. I don't think he's into this. I don't think he's into this format.
Yeah.
I just don't think. He strikes me as somebody who's looking to leave the minute he gets on the stage, like Jeff Bridges and Baker Boys.
Right.
The minute I get on this stage, I can't wait to leave. That's what he that's what he looks like to me. And Wadey's one of the top players in the world because no matter what his mood, the level of his darts never really drops down that far.
Mm-hmm.
He could roll out of bed and average a 93, and 93 is not that good these days.
Right.
Right. Let's see who else. Wade and Taylor tied, which I don't know. Taylor had a whack to win that one, missed a double, and they ended up tying. Van Gerwen smoked Andy Hamilton, which was no great surprise.
Wade and Taylor. I thought you just said Wade beat Adrian Lewis.
No. That was. Did I? I misspoke. Wes beat Adrian Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Wes Newton, the Warrior. So good for Wes. It's just kind of funny who's at the bottom now. And Barney beat Whitlock, which I kind of figured would happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about Barney that, when he's playing one of the really top players like, Phil or Simon Whitlock or James Wade, he's always there. He may get down on himself, and he looks mentally like, he's beating himself up a little bit and stuff, and it may affect his level of play. But when the match starts, he's there. And he's a lot like John Part. These guys are extremely experienced, extremely competitive, and they always have a chance to win. They don't always get it done for, whatever reason. But they're not flashes in the pan. Which Gary Anderson is starting to look like to me. And Adrian Lewis apparently can only play in December.
Right.
He's only good for 1 month a year. So that means this week we have some tough picks. We'll start from the bottom. You got Wes Newton and Simon Whitlock, who were both in Vegas. It's a very strange pairing.
Strange in what sense?
Well, because I like Simon there. And Simon's not really playing great.
Mm-hmm.
And, Wes did, play pretty well against Adrian Lewis. But I think Whitlock, if those two guys, like, somehow morphed into one player, they'd be almost the best player in the world.
Okay.
And there's something about when I watch
you're just saying
Wes,
they have
I cringe.
Opposite.
Yeah, they're very different stylistically.
Different styles. That's what I was looking for.
Stylistically, they're very different. They're the strength of their games. I mean, I think Whitlock's a much better finisher, and Newton seems to score less streakily,
than more consistently.
Than Whitlock does. Yeah. So, and the Brits are like that. I swear. I imagine these Brits where they spend 10% of their time on doubles and 90% of their time on the triples.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how they play. They're great on the triples, and then they come to a finish, and it's like, where was the guy hitting the triple? Let him throw, because this guy's no good. Like schizophrenic sometimes, seems to me. Not Wade, but Newton strikes me that way. And Whitlock's the opposite. I mean, Whitlock, his scoring may be off, but if you give that guy a whack at a finish,
you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hits a lot of them, even the big ones. So I like Whitlock there against Newton.
Sounds good.
Taylor and Anderson, I mean, I can't imagine putting, even if the odds were 100 to 1, I'd have a hard time putting a shilling on Gary Anderson.
Right.
I'd rather give it to like some guy who needs a Starbucks, or give it to the barista. Now I got to take Phil there, and got to take Van Barneveld over Andy Hamilton. I think Barney's just got more class there. The two tough ones are Wade and Thornton, and Adrian Lewis and Michael Van Gerwen.
Does Thornton keep it up, or do you think?
I don't know. I can't imagine him throwing another 109 this week.
Right.
But I mean, the guy's on a roll. I mean, don't you stay with him until he proves otherwise?
you ride the streak, I think.
I mean, Wade's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this could be a potential tie. But I don't know.
You gotta take the guy throwing the best.
Yeah, I say we stay with Thornton there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go tie there, I can't really argue with you. And then Adrian Lewis basically hasn't won yet.
Right.
And I think he really has it in for Van Gerwen. He could have beat Van Gerwen in the World Championships, and he kind of blew it.
You're saying this is the match that'll wake him up.
I'm thinking that if the real Adrian Lewis is going to show up,
it's this one.
This is the one that he's going to show up for. And I think he has it in his head that he's a better player, and he hasn't been in the mood to prove it. Mm-hmm. And I think he felt like he proved it in the World Championships and got nothing for it because he missed a double, or two of them actually, and Van Gerwen didn't. But Adrian Lewis is a much better finisher. He just seems to be mentally like he's not there. But I think he'll be there for this one. So what do you say? Why don't we do that? Why don't we finally take Adrian Lewis?
Yeah.
I don't think we've taken him all season. So what do we got? We got Thornton over Wade.
Mm-hmm.
We got Van Barneveld over Hamilton. We're going to take Lewis over MVG. That's scary because MVG is playing so good. But we'll go with our first thing.
You can always pick an upset. There's nothing wrong with that.
It probably is an upset. I mean, I would think Van Gerwen would be favored.
Yeah,
there. We'll take Phil
Taylor, and
Phil's
Simon.
just been kind of scuffling along, and we're going to take Simon over Wes. This is going to be great. Those are going to be good matches to watch tomorrow. So there's our Premier League picks. I would rip on somebody because they stopped posting our picks. So now I have to go back and figure out what we did in week 3.
Right.
But I think we're in first, along with everybody else. But we're doing so well, I think, that they decided they had to just drop us off.
Stop showing it?
Because, that's how some people roll. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But we'll keep track of it. Anyway, those are our picks. And then before we go, I did get an interesting email from somebody who brought up 3 things that I will just run by you really quick.
Okay.
And you can give me your impressions, because there's some things that I haven't really thought about. One of them was what do you do about players who are sitting on a double, and then they bust it, and then they throw their next 2 darts anyway?
Well, I didn't think that was legal.
Well, really, it isn't. But they've already busted. What are you going to do? I mean, you're going to call for a disqualification?
I'm not going to say anything. It would annoy me though, because technically it's practice.
Well, I've heard a story. I'm not going to mention the player, but there's one guy who apparently what he does is if he's on double one and he misses, he throws the next 2 at the double one. And I'm thinking, then what are you going to do? Ask the chalker and then argue that one of them was in? The first one was in?
Right.
Then what'd you throw the other 2 for? Right?
Yeah.
And
I never even thought about somebody doing that.
Yeah, I could see how. I mean, I don't see how you're going to get anything. Oh, well, the first one missed high and the next one was in? Really?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was low.
But why would you throw the third one?
Well, because now the chalker's going to be like, well, I don't know. And it's like, okay, if the chalker doesn't know, then I get a do-over or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why you would do that. And I haven't seen anybody really seriously throw. I've seen guys kind of halfway start walking to the board and just be like, oh, man.
Yeah.
And kind of chuck
or
a couple. I've seen Phil Taylor do it.
Right.
I mean, but to stand at the line and throw them for real, I mean, I don't even know if the ADO has a rule on that, but it seems to me you shouldn't be allowed to do
I
it
wouldn't
at
think
all.
you should be able to do it at all.
And I can't recall in a tournament setting ever seeing anybody do that. I think the first league match I ever went to, somebody was having some huge argument about this, and I was like, well, what's the rule? And, and they said, well, no practice. I'm like, well, who says that's practice? It's an interpretive thing.
But
I'm shocked that it doesn't say something like, you're disqualified or something for doing that. So, okay, so that was one.
I mean, if you sling it sideways, you would say, well, how is that practice? But it
isn't.
Right.
I mean, people get frustrated, and it's
I don't think
we have
the
to be
the easiest way to deal with it is just say, you can't, if you bust, you can't throw. Except then on the other hand, you have the problem. What happens if you don't know you're busting and the chalker doesn't say anything?
Well, they're not supposed to say anything. You're supposed to tell the chalker. I mean, technically, if you're on 32 and your first start is in, and then you throw one into the 8-8, the game was over when
but what happens
double
if you
went in?
What happens if you hit a single 16 and then you throw for the 8-8 and you don't realize it's in the double wires of the double 16 and you've busted and then you throw?
No, because the game was over when your first double went in.
If you hit a single 16 on 32.
Okay, so now you got 16
and
left.
then you hit a double 16 going for 8-8. The chalker's supposed to tell you it's busted, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. I mean, if the chalker doesn't say anything and you think it's out, say you just tip. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You would run into that problem if.
The problem would be is if you said no, the double was in first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't.
No, I'm saying if you just can't throw a dart once you've busted, the problem would be is if you didn't know you busted because the chalker didn't say anything, and all of a sudden you throw your third dart.
Well, it's your responsibility. I mean, you have to go look.
All right,
or you ask the chalker, is it in or not? Because the chalker's not allowed to lean forward and look. That's like rule number 1, don't do that.
Right.
So you ask the chalker, is it in or out? And if it, if you don't ask and you end up messing it up, then I would have to say that's on you. Right.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was kind of a odd question that, it was a good question. I just hadn't thought about it in so long.
Yeah.
I was like, really? And then the other thing was this guy saying, how come in 01 that they don't just do like I forget what they used to call it. It's an equal darts thing. So let's say you go first in 01 and your 15th dart, you hit a double 20 to win the game, and you went first. So I've thrown 12 darts and I'm on 137.
Why don't you get the chance?
How come I don't get a whack to take out the 137 and tie you?
Because isn't that why you diddle?
Well, yeah.
Or flip?
But I remember seeing on YouTube a video of Steve Brown playing somebody. I want to say it was Bob Anderson or somebody over in England, where they were doing just this.
And then what happens if you tie?
You play another leg. Like you had to win 7 legs, and if you tied it, it didn't.
It doesn't count.
Yeah, just doesn't count. And I was kind of like thinking, well, that's a very odd way of playing that I think would take some getting used to, but I can't see why you couldn't do something like that, like in a pro singles. Like in Syracuse, they play 401. I don't see why you couldn't do that. I can't imagine it mattering that much, except like after 12 darts, you're on 60 and I'm on 40, and you take it out in 2, I actually can win.
Right? In your first start.
In my first start, tie you in my second.
Right.
Or
you lose.
It'd be an interesting, I don't know quite how that would work, but for a Friday night pro singles,
just to throw a little wrench in there.
I wondered what you thought about that. I mean, would that make it more interesting for you? Would that make it fairer? If you did, you would flip and go, alternate start.
Yeah, and then equal number of darts.
Equal number of darts, then would the coin flip really matter?
No.
Some people probably would say it would, that they would rather go first. But let's say the coin flip, you get to choose whether to go first in the odd legs or the even legs. Whatever. I mean,
no, it sounds interesting to me though, because then you still you're sitting there watching the guy take out 120, and you still have a chance.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
to at least tie. But like you said, there's still going to be some instances where you could win.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird. just thinking about the way that would go in my head, that would take some getting used to. You know, I'm so used to just, you know, playing the way we play and just like, okay, I'm going to try to break this guy's throw. I got to break him here. I got to break him here. I got to break him here. Okay, now I got to hold.
Right.
Got to hold my throw. You know, and all of a sudden it's like, well, now it doesn't really matter. It's just one dart at a time kind of thing. It was an interesting. I don't know that I would advocate it. I would probably have to go out with a buddy and go throw and see what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, and just see if that, you know, how does that feel?
Right.
You know, I have no idea. It's a very, you couldn't do it with cricket, I don't think, unless you were playing like clean cricket, no point cricket.
No dirty cricket.
Which, why would anybody even play that? But, you know, that's another thing that, like, if tournaments did that, you know, and they wanted cricket to go fast,
yeah,
you know, that'd be the way to do it. Just get rid of points.
Right.
Go clean cricket. Oh, and that was the other thing. The guy's like, you know, calling no slop in cricket. And I was like calling your shot
pool.
At pool.
Yeah, right.
And I'm kind of like, well, I don't remember the last time I was at a tournament and a guy went for a trip 19 and hit a trip 17.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it happens like in league matches with recreational players.
Sure, it happens
like
all the time.
Yeah. But I don't, you know, in open events on the road, I don't think I've seen that in years.
Right.
You know, I've seen it in blind draws where a couple of times I just was like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah.
Really? And I've seen people do it like 2 or 3 times in a leg. And it's like the only triples they hit in the whole cricket thing were accidental. And I'm like, wow, really? And you just deal with it and you move on. But I haven't seen it in a tournament atmosphere to the point where I would even...
Where it would warrant a response?
No.
Or a rule?
I can't see why you would bother.
It wouldn't warrant a rule?
And if you were doing it in league, it just strikes me as being, you know, it really changes the nature of the game from like a friendly kind of thing to something that's borderline anal retentive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, no, you have to call it. No, that didn't count. And oh, now you forgot to call it, so no, it doesn't count. And then the way I play cricket, where I don't always shoot at the most obvious number you can imagine.
Yeah, but are you going to start somebody's dart? Are you going to stop somebody's dart rhythm by him having to sit there like go?
Well, no, you'd have to stop your own. You'd have
That's
to,
what I'm saying.
Okay, now it's an 18.
Yeah.
And then oh, now it's a 17. You know,
right?
It's like you have to just speak while you're playing now.
That would be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the idea of playing clean cricket, I find that interesting.
That makes more sense.
If you played clean cricket and counted the number of darts, the cricket events wouldn't be anywhere near as long as they are now. I'll tell you that. They'd be probably quicker than the 0-1 games because you wouldn't be missing doubles.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
they'd be a lot quicker.
Yeah. So maybe that for people that are interested in, you know, thinking outside the box, these were all great questions. That's kind of where we're coming down on this one.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any other great questions, you can email them to darttalk@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @darttalk. Find us on iTunes. Find us on tunein.com. Find us on Stitcher.com. We have our own YouTube channel, Dart Talk US, where we have all the video of the old shows up there. And soon, not saying tomorrow, but soon. darttalk.us will be operational, and I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully it'll be a little easier for people to check the show and chat and whatnot.
All right.
Did we get everything?
Looks like it.
Okay. Thanks to our sponsors, thedartzone.com.
Stay in the zone.
Thedartzone.com, an official Cosmo distributor and the original sponsor of our show. So if you like the show, by all means, check in with thedartzone.com and tell him we sent you. Tell him you listen to the show. Maybe he'll keep sponsoring us. That'd be cool. Also,
we'll have to work out a deal with if you mention Dart Talk, they'll get like free flights or something.
Yeah, we'll
with the
something
purchase.
out. We're going to do something with Twitter on that stuff. Also, thanks to Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Next week, we're back on Wednesday. It's the week after.
Right.
Next week. Yeah, we'll be back next Wednesday at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Did we figure out what Greenwich time was?
We never looked into it.
I think it's 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
And I don't know what time it is in Brazil. We got a nice email from a guy in Brazil. Nathan, I did send you something back before the show. Thanks, everybody in the chat room, for listening. Around the world, we will Dart Talk to everybody next week. So
thanks, everybody. Good luck in your darting endeavors this weekend.
Absolutely. Everybody, safe travels. Stay out of the snow, and we'll Dart Talk to you next week.